Hello and welcome to Politics Today, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in Lagos, the nation's commercial nerve center. I'm Jeffrey Uzama, sitting in for your regular host, Sheon Kimbaloye, who will be coming back on Sunday. Now, it's the weekend edition of the program, and as always, we'll be bringing you up to speed with development in the polity. And the Plateau is a place to start, where Governor Caleb Mutfwang has visited Mangu local government area following the recent attacks by assailants. The first place of visit is Kwasha Slalek community, where 30 persons, mostly women and children, were killed on Tuesday night during curfew hours. Governor Mutfwang commiserated with the people and offered prayers for the repose of the souls of those that had passed and return of peace to the area. The governor and the government, rather, had imposed a 24-hour curfew to forestall any breakdown of law and order. So that's the latest coming in from Plateau State. As soon as we get the governor's remark, we'll bring it up to you right here on the program. But away from Plateau State, the Supreme Court has upheld a 5-year jail term for former House of Representatives member Farouk Lawan, as ruled by the Court of Appeal. In a unanimous decision, the court dismissed Lawan's appeal, stating that his argument, which included a claim that he was not allowed to plead for leniency, lacked merit. It further held that the trial court's failure to call for allocution did not invalidate the sentence. The decision reaffirms a 2022 judgment of the Court of Appeal, which upheld Mr. Lawan's 5-year sentence for accepting a $500,000 bribe, $500,000 bribe, I should say, from billionaire businessman Femi Otedola during his tenure as chairman of the House Other Committee on Fuel Subsidy Probe in 2012. Now, in a historic move, the Rivers State House of Assembly has overridden the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, enacted 4 laws. And this happened during plenary at the House of Assembly headquarters today, after the Speaker, Martins Amiewule, notified the House about the governor's correspondence withholding assent to the proposed laws. The 4 laws passed are the Rivers State Local Government Amendment Law, the Rivers State Traditional Rulers Amendment Law, the Rivers State Advertisement and Use of the State-Owned Property Prohibition Repeal Law, as well as the Rivers State Funds Management and Financial Autonomy Law. By the action of the state legislature, some have said it may signal the resumption of political hostilities in the state.
I don't think I have any charge for you. You already read your charge. Your charge said, uphold and defend the Constitution. I will wish you well, that in your coming back, stand for justice, stand for the interests of our dear state.
Well, that was the Rivers State governor, not the Speaker of the House of Assembly. There it was talking about speaking to the commissioners who were just sworn in after they were renominated and screened or rescreened by the State House of Assembly. But we will go on a quick break, or not on a break this time. We'll go for our political roundup stories to bring you some of the political stories. But that will be the focus of our conversation when we come back. The Rivers State political imbroglio. Join us again.
The Independent National Electoral Commission says the by-election into the 2 federal constituencies scheduled for the 3rd of February will hold as planned. Addressing a news conference at the Commission state headquarters in Okra in Anambra State, the resident electoral commissioner, Elizabeth Agu, explains that the rerun will hold in 21 polling units of Urumba and Nnewi, just as he assures voters of a hitch-free rerun polls.
We have about nine parties for Urumba North, and the Nnewi 9, Urumba North 11 parties.
The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Abdullahi Ganduje, is appealing to Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State to join the ruling APC with members of his cabinet. Mr. Ganduje spoke while addressing members of the party at the APC Secretariat in Kano. He explains that the APC is ready to accept all members of the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) into the All Progressives Congress.
We are inviting the governor and his officials to join our party.
And in Kaduna State, the All Progressives Congress has flagged off its campaign for the Chikun State constituency position in the State House of Assembly with a determination to win the seat earlier occupied by the opposition People's Democratic Party ahead of the February 3rd by-election in some state and federal constituencies. The Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, who's leading the campaign flag off at Sabon Tasha area in Chikun local government, urged the electorate to come out and vote for the APC candidate, describing him as the best among the contestants to effectively represent the people of Chikun constituency.
I know his capacities, I know his competencies. So my message to the people of Chikun is to come out en masse on the 3rd of February to vote just because I know he will deliver on his promise.
Ahead of the governorship election in Edo State, an aspirant to the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Charles Ariawere, have promised to turn around the state economy if given the mandate. Mr. Ariawere, who was represented by members of his campaign team, led by Daniel Hila, told journalists while obtaining his nomination form at the APC National Headquarters, Abuja, that he's the best candidate to pilot the affairs of Edo State at this time.
You can sit in your house and get your payment in NDDC, something that was very difficult to happen, and he made it possible. So we are supporting General Charles because he will know he will bring beauty to Edo State, he will bring development to Edo State, he will bring security to Edo State.
The Inter-Party Advisory Council of Nigeria, IPAC, has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to obey a court ruling that the current executive committee of the council, whose tenure ended in 2023, should continue to manage the affairs of the council pending the hearing and determination of the motion is determined by the court. In a statement signed by the National Chairman Yabagi Sani, it explains that the body is unaware that some self-serving individuals within the council may want to circumvent due process and the law by pretending not to be aware of the court order.
Welcome back. So those are your political roundup stories. Today in focus, two states are in focus. Rivers State, and of course, Rivers State has been in the news since last year over what is now called the political imbroglio, or the theater of the absurd, as some refer to it, as well as the elections that are coming up in Edo State and Ondo State. That is also going to be in focus on the program today. We'll be speaking with one of the aspirants from Edo State. But hey, Rivers is the first conversation we'll be having. There are two things that happened today. If you heard the governor giving a charge to the commissioners. Those commissioners, at the very height of their political feud, I mean the governor and his predecessor, FCT Minister, former Governor Nyesom Wike, some commissioners resigned from the cabinet, about 8 or 9 of them. And then the president brokered a truce, some form of a peace pact. And part of it was that they will be back to the cabinet. Well, the House of Assembly had screened them, and everybody was waiting whether indeed the governor will swear them in to see how that plays out. Yesterday, the governor's election was affirmed by the Supreme Court, and today, just less than 24 hours, the governor has finally sworn in those commissioners that were renominated. So we're going to talk about this in terms of what the law says and all of that, as well as what was going on in the State Assembly. While that was happening, the State Assembly, they frowned at the fact that the governor withheld assent to 4 bills they sent to him, which were reeled out, and they override more like override the governor's refusal to assent to those bills. And now they passed it into law, and it's quite a historic move. So this kind of suggests that it's all really well with the politics in Rivers State. I'm being joined in the program to talk about this by a senior advocate of Nigeria who is joining us via Zoom, Mr. Adeleke Agbola. Mr. Agbola, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Me today. Good evening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I'm sure you may have been following the development in Rivers State. So my first thought will be, what is your take on this particular development in the state?
Well, not entirely surprising, because the peace that we've had in Rivers State in the past couple of months is like the peace of the graveyard. Efforts have been made to douse the tension between the governor and his political godfather, Nyesom Wike, Honorable Nyesom Wike. But it appears that the solution has not yet been found. But it's expected that there will be frictions here and there, and everybody is trying to assert his own power as to what goes on in River State. But the governor has to tread carefully, because when majority of the members of the House of Assembly are not on the same wavelength with the governor, it can portend serious dangers for the peace and security in River State. Because I will not be surprised if efforts are made to impeach him.
Some people are saying that this appears like some sort of a forced marriage, as suggested by some. Do you hold that view?
Please, can you repeat that question again, please?
I got your first take, and I'm sure everybody got that perspective, but I want to dig deeper, because some people are saying that this appears like a forced marriage. I mean, getting back the people that had voluntarily resigned for personal reasons or for whatever reasons they resigned, and then this peace pact is one of the reasons why they are being brought back into the cabinet. Does this look like a forced marriage in your view, given the perspective of some people?
Well, don't forget, both the governor, the members of the House of Assembly, and the commissioners were on the same political divide just about 4 or 5 months ago. What has happened is that there have been fissure in their relationship. So the marriage itself was not the one that is forced. It's the reconciliation after both parties have voluntarily separated that is the problem now. And we have to be careful not to escalate the situation. The political actors must find a way, in the interest of the people of River State, to find a way to work together. Because, especially on the part of the governor, he has to soft pedal. He has to find a way to accommodate these divergent interests that are working against him. The commissioners are back. They resigned apparently on principle, because their main sponsor in the government was having problems with the governor. So it became impractical for them to stay. So there's apparently a truce, and they are back. So we just have to watch and see the body language, how they're going to work together. Because even before they resigned, our understanding was that there was a problem between them, because the governor we were told was not in a position to instruct them, the commissioners. So there must be a little bit of give and take on both sides, because the interest is not the personal interest of the governor, it's not the personal interest of the commissioner, it's not the personal interest of the legislators, it's not the personal interest of Honorable Nyesom, it's the interest of the River State. So if all of them have the interest of the River State together, you can work together, because people have been brought in from opposing sides. We've had in the past some governments, we call them government of national unity. Why can't we have a government of state unity? Even because they are all friends. The Yoruba will say it's because of the fight that ordinary song becomes a war song. It is, they can find a way to work together. The marriage was, because when people are married, they must remember their initial love affair before they were separated. Now that they are back, they must work on it.
Leonard Silk, I wanted to find out is there anything the law says about this particular issue, just out of curiosity?
No, because theoretically speaking, the governor has the power to hire and fire his commission. They are all, I mean, the other person who could not fire is his deputy, because both of them were elected on the same ticket. So if he wants to remove the governor, the deputy governor, they must go through the state assembly and ask the court to confirm, to follow the process of the removal. But for the commissioners, he can remove them, they can sack them. But his hands are tied. I don't envy him, because it's like he's in government, but he's not in power. So they must also not. I will urge the member of the House of Assembly and the commissioners not to make him look completely dumb, because he's still the governor. He's in a position to cause a lot of trouble if they don't manage it. And it's the people of River State that will suffer for it. So,
all right, let us see. let's bring in my second guest here, joining us from Abuja studio, Lenesik, because we're going to get your perspective as far as the law is concerned. We've been joined in our Abuja studio by public affairs analyst, Mr. Jide Ojo. Mr. Ojo, thank you so much for coming on the program. All right, I understand. In a moment, he will be joining us. Let me come back to you. Now, there's some perspective on this particular issue of rehiring, as you will, in this particular case. How will it affect governance at the end of the day? Because some people are feeling like this is the governor being watched from the inside.
It's a very curious situation. And I don't think in the political history of Nigeria, we've had this kind of experience where the governor is almost completely powerless because it's not in control of the state assembly. And the curious one is that it's not even in control of his own executive council. We've had situation before where a governor is elected and his party is in minority in the state assembly. It has happened before. We remember the case of Balarabe Musa in Kaduna State or those days. But you remember what happened to Balarabe Musa in the end? Balarabe Musa was impeached. What governors do normally when they don't have control of their own House of Assembly is to work on those legislators to decamp to their party. What is interesting in respect of this particular one is that he started with a majority and he has now, because officially he has only about 4 members that are in his own support in a house of 30 members.
No, Lenesik, I'm talking about, I mean, for the cabinet, not the House of Assembly. We're going to come to the issue of the House of Assembly in a bit.
Yes.
I mean, being watched from inside, from the cabinet.
Yes, that is a problem. It's all part of the same larger issue. Because if he is in control of the state assembly, he will not have problem with ESCO because he'll be able to shoot those who are going to be working with him. But we know with what has happened today that he has to tread very carefully. And so he needs to go and pick out political sagacity to work with this. These are his friends. Don't forget. We should not forget that. I visited Port Harcourt regularly. We know all of them before, and we know that they all belong to the same camp. They must find a way, and that's where the elders, leaders in that community, in that state, people like OCG Okosha, people like Dr. Peter Odile, they must find a way to bring these people together, so that because I cannot imagine a governor who has almost all his commissioners are not his own appointed. They don't work for him. And he does not believe in the godfather that has appointed them. So they must find a way to reconcile. Because I keep on emphasizing the target, because people, when we go into government in Nigeria, it is not for personal aggrandizement. It's not supposed to be for personal aggrandizement. It's supposed to be to serve the interests of the people. So if the interest of the people is what is paramount in politics, then it should not really matter whether you belong to one faction or the party or the other. They are all PDP members until recently. So they should find a way. And importantly, they are all from Rivers State. So there should be no war. They should find a way of working together. Because
my apologies for cutting in. I understand Mr. Ojo has joined us. Mr. Ojo, thank you for your patience and for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure. Good evening.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me pick it up from where the Lenesik had mentioned something before we dovetail into other issues concerning this development in Rivers State. He had called it, he doesn't envy the position of the governor as far as this issue is concerned. He said that the governor's hands are tied. Some are considering it a forced marriage. I don't know what you think about this swearing in of renominated commissioners, because everybody was watching on the sideline, which is why we call it a battle around the peace pact, to see whether this will happen or not and how it's going to play out in the polity eventually.
Thank you, Geoffrey. I think for Governor Fubara, obviously he's not a politician. He's is a member of the civil service in Rivers State. And I think when people do not have political sagacity, this is sometimes what they get themselves into. What is playing out in Rivers State is similar to what happened under Governor Akinwumi Ambode in Lagos, who was also a former Accountant General of Lagos State, and not being politician was favored and was made the governor. You recall all the problems he had in the lead up to seeking re-election. The actual fact about Rivers is that the governor have not been able to make his State House of Assembly members happy. They are angry with him, and they are not pretending that they are happy with him. And he needs to do what other governors do. The learned Sikh talk about states where the governor is even in a minority. When Peter Obi was the governor of Anambra State, I think almost all the majority of members of the Anambra State House of Assembly were from PDP. He was from APGA. And he was able to navigate his way through and also got re-elected in a state where he was, he as a governor belongs to a different party, All Progressive Grand Alliance. A majority member of the State House of Assembly were PDP members. So I think Governor Fubara should stop grandstanding. He does not have, he's like a general without troop. And when I say without troop, it's not like the job people are not behind him or the Rivers people are not behind him. But I'm talking metaphorically and politically. How can you watch and 27 out of 31 members of your party are able to hold you to ransom to the point of impeachment threat? How many times has he met with these lawmakers since they were inaugurated? They complained that their dues, money due to them has not been given to them. It's an independent arm of government. Don't forget, Jeffrey, that there have been 2 alterations to the Constitution giving state houses of assembly and state judiciary financial autonomy. So, if you look beyond the facade, beyond the surface, you may want to wrongly accuse FCT Minister Nyesom Wike as being the one behind his travails. But if you dig down, you may find out that the governor himself hasn't reached out, he has not extended olive branch to the lawmakers. Now, they lost one member to death. Honorable Edisi Ehie has resigned. That's out of 31. You only have two members, or thereabout, 2 or 3 members who are suspended alongside with Ehie that you can say are with the governor. Otherwise, how did they manage to get 2/3 to override the veto of the governor? So I am looking at this as a political scientist that Governor Fubara needs to learn political engineering. If he's able to learn, he will survive and he will have a very good time. All he needs to do is to have regular meetings with his state lawmakers, listen to them, meet them at their point of needs, and see whether there will be no change in the political temperature of Rivers State, whether the frosty relationship will not melt. But for you to be listening to those who want the ox in Rivers, who are waiting in the wings to capitalize and profit from the chaos, you will continue to live like a lame duck. I congratulate Governor Fubara for winning at the Supreme Court, but he needs to learn how to navigate the landmines. Now he knew that these 9 commissioners are not within. They belong to, they have divided loyalty. I made friendly overtures to them, carry them along, and make sure that they don't cause trouble. In politics, it is said that you bring your enemy closer to you. Not that you distance yourself. So, and in politics, there is no permanent enmity. There is only one thing that is permanent, which is interest. Friendship is not permanent. He knew how he won the primaries of the party. He knew who paid the bills to make him the governor. He knew that, you know, there was, I don't have an independent verification, but the rumor may has it that somebody paid for the nominations of all of them that contested. And the popular adage is that he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So what I'm saying is that the crisis that ensued in Rivers since October last year through to this January is manageable, and he can control the situation. He needs to reach out and make peace with his legislator. He needs to reach out and make peace with those commissioners, not that you develop cold feet with them, not that you keep them in abeyance. You need to bring them close, listen to their grievances, see what you can do to ameliorate the situation. Otherwise, this will be unhealthy for the state.
Mr. Ojo, before we move on to other issues concerning this issue, and I get back to the Leonard Silk, I know you had explained a few things, but where does it really start from? Because it's like a situation in a box. It is clear that where this commissioner's loyalties lie, it is very clear with the actions that happened in the past few months. And not just that he's having a face-off with the House of Assembly, is the fact that they are also in another political party. So do you see this as a quagmire, or is something he can walk through if he's ready to walk through it? I know you've explained, but I just needed to dig deep further.
What stops him from even defecting to APC? What stops Fubara himself from defecting to APC?
Is that, in your view, is that the only option he has now?
When No, that's not the only option. That's not the only option. That's not the only option. Don't get me wrong. I'm only saying it's one of the options. But I've also highlighted other options. It can work. I gave you the example of how Peter Obi survived in Anambra. That's why belonging to the the party that has minority member in the State House of Assembly. And that is not peculiar to him. There have been several states where you can see in Plateau State. In Plateau State, PDP has 16 members out of 24. And APC has 8. And you can see that with the court decision, majority has become minority now. So what I'm saying is that ability to navigate through this, I'm not saying he should defect. I'm only canvassing that if almost all the lawmakers have defected to APC and they are retaining their seats, as it were, he could consider, just like Bello Matawale did in 2019-2020, after becoming governor, he decided to defect to the ruling party. And even when he lost re-election bid, he's been accommodated as a minister of the federal Republic.
All right, Mr. Ojo.
But that is not what I want to canvass. What I'm canvassing majorly is that Leonard Silk has talked about elders in Rivers like OCJ Okocha, like Dr. Peter Odili, like several other eminent personality, traditional rulers, religious leaders in the state who can also help them to mend fence. But primarily, it needs to sound out each of those lawmakers. It needs to have private discussion with each of those commissioners. Right. What is it that is their grievances that made them to resign? What is it that made them to defect? Can he mix them? It's a win-win situation I need to foster. If he's able to foster a win-win situation, even if he stays in PDP, he will still have the loyalty of the members of the assembly and the commissioners.
Let me get back to the Leonard Sik. I want to pack as many questions as possible because we're running out of time. Leonard Sik, let me come back to you. There is another big elephant in the room. This was one of the issues that people were looking at, the cabinet members being recalled. The other big issue is the issue of representing the budget. Remember that the budget had been presented to a House of 4 led by Hie, who has now resigned. And the governor has actually assented, signed the budget into law, which is now an act of law, 800 billion naira. But the assembly members had complained that given the pact that was brokered by the president, he has to represent that budget. But the challenge here is that a court, a federal high court, had given an order nullifying the action of the governor in signing that budget. They nullified it. Less than 24 hours, another court, concurrent jurisdiction, in fact, within the same building, we understand, said everybody should maintain status quo. So I don't know. When it comes to representing the budget, with this feud going on, where does he go from here? I mean, the governor. Leonard Silk?
Thank you. Yeah. It's an interesting conundrum that two different courts will give two different interpretations as to what the law is. But don't forget the second court. The first court nullified the budget that was accepted by the governor, and the second one said maintain status quo. It depends on the time, because in this kind of situation, what was the status quo as at the time the second judge made his pronouncement? So we have to dig deep to find out who delivered his judgment first. If the judgment nullified the act, the budget was delivered first, then the status quo was the nullified budget. But that is just picking a straw. The truth is that the governor has to be politically mature. It is going to be difficult to sustain that budget in the face of opposition by about 24 members of the State Assembly. So the governor has to represent, and if that is done, I believe the commissioners to implement those laws are the ones now that are in alliance with the members of the State Assembly. It's still part of the larger issue that where do we go from there? The governor is being bossed into a corner, and he must not allow himself to be removed unceremoniously. He has to reach out to everybody, both within and outside River State, to be able to maneuver. Because it's a very serious situation that he has lost control of the levels of government in River State. So for him now, my friend Mr. Ojo said it's a lame duck. It's more like a lame duck government. Yes, but he can make himself. He can power himself out of this hole that he has been. Whether he dug it himself or was thrown into it is a matter for another day. Because if he has remained loyal to the political government, this may not have happened. But also, it is extremely irritating for a lot of people that you will be elected into a position in your name, and you will not be able to take any single action on your own without having to consult somebody. So the government also has to lay down some law. There's some principles that this is you are free to do this in respect of these matters, but these are the core areas that you cannot go into. You see, they say who wants to dine with the devil must have a very long spoon. And for some of us who are in the sideline, we are amused, because when the going was good, these people were carving empires for themselves, and suddenly if
I may butt in, Leonard Sek, I understand we're running out of time. I would have asked questions about some provisions of the Constitution, because there's still the arguments of the defection and all of that. When you look at Section 91, Section 120, Section 121, Section 109, it's a gamut of issues around legislation. But let me get to you, Mr. Ojo, before I come back to the Leonard Sek as we wrap up. This will be the last set of questions. What political future, Mr. Ojo, do you see for Governor Sim Fubara? Some are saying that for doing some of the things he has done is a display of cowardice, and he may have lost the people. On the other hand, he has also broken trust with, quote-unquote, his political godfather, Nyesom Wike. Where do you see this going for him politically as a politician? How far can he survive?
It's about negotiation. Is he ready to negotiate? Behind the scene, you know, let me give you an instance. Why did the majority lawmaker in Oyo State remove Governor Rashidi Ladoja around 2006 or thereabout? It's because he failed to settle them. And he lost office for 11 months before the Supreme Court was able to reinstate him back to office while Governor Alao Akala, took charge. What he needs to do, he knows what he needs to do. Whether he's ready to do it is a different thing. I've given you a scenario. It's not the first. I said, as an executive governor, with an 800 billion naira budget, you can settle your way out of any crisis. And I'm being very sincere here. If you make your lawmakers happy, they will swing, they would dance to your tune. You will have them singing your praise. What many people are not talking about is what is the cause of this whole brouhaha. The lawmakers are saying what is due to us, you have not given us. You are breathing down our neck. You want to destroy the legislative chamber. So if he excuse all of that, the point is the president, he has gone to the president 2 times. Okay. And the part of the truth is that he will secure his seat, that he will not be impeached. But even if he's not impeached, he can settle his way out of this whole crisis. Okay. Make him pay attention to what the gladiators in the states are talking about. If he's able to do that, knowing full well that he doesn't have the structure to his advantage, the political structure is not to his advantage at this point. He needs to stoop to conquer. Okay, that's a good place. Ms. Leonard Silk, just 30 seconds, please. Your last take on this particular issue. I would have gone into the issue of the overriding of what he refused to assent to. Just 30 seconds, your last take, because we're totally out of time, sir.
Thank you. Well, the truth is that we are living in very interesting times, and we are going to see more of these problems in the coming weeks. How the government navigates the issue, because the balance of power are tilted against him. I navigate the issue in determining whether it will survive or not. The issue of people defecting, it is the speaker who will declare a position vacant, and now the speaker is part of the people who have defected. So it's going to be interesting. The law is going to be tested. So I wish Fubara well. More importantly, I wish the people of Rivers State well, because when Taliban's fighting, all right, let us say my sincere apologies. Never intended to cut you off, but totally out of time. We're due for a break. Thank you so much. Adeleke Agbola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who joined us via Zoom, and Mr. Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst, who joined us from our Abuja studios. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. We appreciate your insights on this particular issue. Thank you for having us. My pleasure. All right, we're going to switch gears after the break. When we come back, we head to Edo State. The elections are coming up in September, and we'll be talking to one of the aspirants of the Labour Party in that state. What's happening with the Labour Party and their preparations for the elections? That will be after this break. Join us again. Welcome back. Still politics today, right here on Channels Television. We switch gears now to the politics of Edo State. September, they will file out to elect a new governor that will succeed Governor Godwin Obaseki. And one of the parties that has been working and preparing for that exercise is the Labour Party. And one of the aspirants is joining us from our Abuja studios, Mr. Kenneth Masogbon joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Masogbon, thank you so much for coming on the program. Thank you, Jeff. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty well, sir.
So let me begin by one of the issues that have been on the news in the last few days as far as the Labour Party is concerned, is the issue of the expression of interest and nomination forms. 30 million naira is what the party pegged it at. But I did see that there was a statement released by almost 20 governorship aspirants. I did not see your name on that list. Was that on a mission of 30 million is not a big deal to you?
Jeff, you are aware, I hope you are aware that only yesterday I picked my nomination form in Abuja here with teaming supporters from Edo State. Actually, that nomination form was actually purchased by those who have believed in me. There's a group called the Edo Progressive Union. It came all the way from Edo State to get the nomination form for me. About the pricing, you know that politics is about money. It's not about money, it is about money. You want to be a governor or a president all over the world, it's all about money. But the party has spoken. I'm a loyal and obedient party man. If the party says this is what the pricing is, I want to respectfully say yes, as an obedient and loyal party man, yes. But because the party itself needs to run. If you take the APC form is 55 million, PDP, 35 million. Labour is even, smaller, or less when you compare the three leagues, the three big parties. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here to tell you that hope is coming for Edo people, that the state of the state today in Edo is unacceptable to me.
Mr. Masogba,
and Jeff, I thought you would have asked why you've been running.
Mr. Masogba, I'm going to come to you while you're here. I just need to clear that air as to all of this. So, in your view, by your estimation, you think that the agitation shouldn't have been, is that what you're saying? It really shouldn't be, or they have a right to say, review this downward because it's a socialist...
Jeff, it's not mine to tell. The delegates are watching. I'm an obedient party man. I have purchased mine, and I know they will buy also. They will purchase whatever the decision of the party is final. The party have taken their pricing, and I want to say that the party needs money to run. The party needs to be fair. They were fair in the big three: APC, PDP, Labour Party. I think Labour is fair.
All right, okay. So let's not go to the crux of the matter. The reason why some of them are saying what they said, it may interest you to know that because they see it as a socialist party, so it mustn't be as high as other parties, because they cited other states like Imo that actually had to scale down to 15 million. But let's leave that. You've been at this for quite a while, trying to be the governor of Edo State. So my natural question would be, what is it that you want to ensure you do that you have not been given a chance to do? Now you're coming out to say, give me this chance. I have what to offer to the people of Edo State.
Thanks, Jeff. Great question. For 20 years, I've been wanting to serve Edo people. But I have been a victim of the Godfather's game plan. Victim because they believe in their mindset that nobody can control me, I'm uncontrollable. Victim because if they say bring Edo people's money for us to share, I will not do that. Victim because I'm a man of I'm independent-minded. My sin is, Ken is independent-minded. That's why today I find myself in Labour. I'm grateful to God that I'm in Labour, led by a party national leader, Peter Obi and Dati. God bless them. They've laid the template for how a party should run, and that's why I'm in Labour. Labour is Papa, Mama, Pikin. Their manifestos and their values are in tandem with the reason why I've been running. What has been the reason? Poor roads in Edo State is unacceptable. Bad school system, it must be defeated. No jobs for our younger ones. The girls don't have jobs, the boys don't have where to go. Insecurity pervading all the nook and cranny of Edo State. Pain, 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 sorrow. Today, Jeff, you cannot move from Warri to Benin. You cannot come from Lagos to Benin. From Abuja to Benin, you will be there for 2-3 nights. That's not the Edo that I grew up in. During the military, in the good days of Ogbomode and Professor Ambrose Ali, it was Bendel State then. Edo was the Sanojo of Bendel. You remember that those days? I don't know where if you were born or if you have those records. We were proud to say we are all Bendel. Today what we have is Edo State of the cartel from a tiny part of the country, Lagos. Some Edo people coming to, they want to hijack the matrimony for their benefit, for their pockets. You can read it in the past 18 years. It has been a cartel running Edo for their interest of the very few, the godfathers. But 2024, this year, God willing, I take the nomination. I'm appealing to the delegates on the 22nd of September. Dear delegates, I know you and you know me. My name is Riceman Ken Maswambo. I've identified feeding Edo people for the past 20 years, giving laptops to your children, giving scholarship, going to UBTH Benin, paying medical bills for those who can afford them.
We're going to come
I
to the
have gone to Uwa Specialist Hospital.
We're going to come to the time of campaigns. Just a minute, because I understand that I'm almost out of time. So I want to throw this in. You say you've been on this journey for 20 years or so. There's a quick tax you may have to attend to if you eventually are fortunate to become the governor. The debt burden of that state's local foreign debt stands at almost $300 million. 126 billion naira as the MBS released data. From Budget's State of the State fiscal performance record of 2022, when I look at the dependency of Edo State on FAC, it's about 71%. How do you intend to fix all of this to grow the IGR? Because what we're seeing here is one of the states that without IGR, if you're depending, without FAC, if you're depending on IGR, you will not be able to run the state. How do you intend to optimize this? This is your first tax. How would you handle it?
Quickly and swiftly, I condemn the debt burden of Edo State. Even as a private, quickly and swiftly, if you can hear me, I condemn the debt profile of Edo State. Even my private sector experience. You don't borrow money for pocketing, or you borrow money for flimsy things. You only borrow money for capital investment that will create jobs. After job creation, you garner taxes. But this 300 and something billion, where are the investment? Where are the companies? You borrowed, you use it and cross the world. You and your cronies, you take it.
Mr. Masogbo, so we give value.
Some of us
Mr. Masogbo, so we give value to your appearance. You have blamed them for misappropriating, in your words, allegedly, they are not spending the money well. My question is,
as governor of Edo State, what I will do,
just a minute,
as governor of Edo State, I will block the leakages. When you borrow and invest in capital projects, you create jobs, then the people, of course, will be engaged. But when you borrow to do parties, when you borrow to for yourself ego, then that money ab initio is wasted. What we have in Edo State today is a wasted effort. But having said that, when you have a purposeful governor, a genuine, passionate, loving governor, of course, with my contact outside the shores of Nigeria, I can bring corporate world to genuinely come and invest in Edo. My contacts with America, one of the richest and most powerful country in the world, will be a big blessing to Edo. I know 1 or 2, 3, 4 companies in Europe, in America, with Edo diaspora citizens all over the world will come together.
Great idea, Mr. Masogbo. Great idea, Mr. Masogbo. I'm sure that as we head out to the primaries and after the primaries and all of that, we're going to have this conversation. It's a huge conversation. This show alone cannot do it at this particular hour. So we'll definitely have this conversation some other time. But I must thank you for coming on the program, Mr. Kenneth Masogbo, Labour Party governorship aspirant. Thank you so much for joining us from our Abuja studio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. Shen took the day off. He will be back on Sunday. Your regular host, Shen Okimbaloye. I want to thank you again. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Good night. God bless you.